Hey you, welcome. And just like that, we have a baby. It is just, it's amazing. I had the baby on Friday at midnight. Today is Monday, a couple days into postpartum here. We got home on Saturday. We had to spend 24 hours in the hospital. So the last update, I was going to be 38 weeks the next day, and just as I suspected when I went in, she wanted to set an induction date for as soon as possible. We had asked if we could do Friday, and she called me back at 5 p.m. and she was really encouraging us to consider coming in the next day after. So we went into the hospital on Thursday at 3. We did a bunch of paperwork, nothing really happened, and around 6 p.m. the OB came in, and to start the induction process, because I was only 1 centimeter, they had to do a Foley bulb, which we went through that procedure of putting that in, which was incredibly unpleasant. During the whole thing, I went from 1 centimeter to 3 centimeters under 5 minutes. We basically didn't need to do the Foley bulb anymore because I was already dilated enough to just straight on go up into oxytocin. By around 8 p.m. they had to give me IVs. I had IVs in both of my hands. The first IV that they did was not a very good one, and it was actually very painful and very uncomfortable, and probably one of the, sad to say, worst parts of the entire labor and delivery. I don't know if you can see bruising on this one. But yeah, so that one was really nasty and it really hurt and it bothered. And then I got a second one done in my other arm. They started administering the oxytocin around 8 p.m. Contractions were regular and strong, and I was starting to feel a lot of pain, and so I didn't really want to feel a lot of pain, so I definitely chose to tap out, and I asked for an epidural. I probably got that around between 9 and 10, and then they came in and they broke my water. So because I was being induced, I had to have continual monitoring done on the baby to make sure that its heart rate wasn't decelerating, the baby wasn't in distress, which really sucks. Being hooked up to the monitors and not being able to move around, I really wished I could have been able to have more mobility in that direction. I also was really getting uncomfortable just kind of sitting in that bed, but of course we want to just keep an eye on baby and make sure that everything was okay with the baby. Started noticing on the monitor that the baby's heart rate was kind of decelerating a bit, and it was taking a little bit more to recover, and I asked the nurse about it, and they ended up turning down the oxytocin, and my contractions were really regular, really consistent, and so they called the doctor, and the doctor came in, and it was like 11:30, and she was like, okay, let's get you set up to have this baby. So just like that, the whole process was incredibly fast. I guess I suspected it to go kind of fast because Quinn's labor was incredibly fast, and it's my 4th baby, and I was being induced. They had my contractions up pretty strong, pretty regular, and pretty consistent, so by the time they got everything set up, it was probably about midnight. Then we went through the whole pushing process. So because the OB was concerned about the baby's size, according to the last ultrasound, they estimated the baby was going to be about 4 pounds 9 ounces. When babies are that small, they bring the NICU in. So between the 2 nurses, I also had 2 OBs in there delivering me. They also had the NICU team, which is a team of at least 6 people, and then there was me and my husband, so it was full of people just gloriously witnessing that whole deal. And so they put him on my chest. I got to see if it was a boy or a girl, and I wasn't shocked because I suspected that it was a boy, and it was a boy. Right after I got to see if the baby was a boy or a girl, they asked if the NICU team could look him over. He came out screaming and crying. They took him over and they weighed him, and he was actually 5 pounds 2 ounces. So the OB seemed pretty happy with that. He had great coloring, he was crying, and he's incredibly strong. They ended up scoring him a 9 out of 9. The birth went down exactly how I wanted it to. I was able to have a successful VBAC. I only had a 1st degree tear, so that's not too bad. Baby came out perfect and there was absolutely nothing wrong with him. I was glad that we had a knowledgeable OB who was encouraging us to induce while the baby was showing that it was healthy and strong enough to do so, because it can only be a matter of days where the baby is looking perfectly great to doing not very well, and if they don't do very well, you will most likely end up with a C-section, or even in sometimes the worst case scenario, you would walk away without a baby at all. The only downside to the birth and the only negative thing that I can possibly say is I was incredibly sad that my mom wasn't able to be there. They literally lifted the COVID restrictions a mere few hours after I had given birth. That allowed you to have a second support system person in place. And so if we would have been induced on Friday, on one hand, my mom would have been able to be there, but on the flip side, I guess, who knows what an extra day would have made. Do you guys want to see my little baby doll? He's just a gorgeous little angel. Little baby. He looks great. His skin is beautiful. His coloring is gorgeous. He's strong. He's a little guy, but he's doing awesome. So we're just at home and we're enjoying this time. All the boys have been wonderful with their brother. Alex, being the oldest, he is super gentle and he has a lot of experience with babies, so he's gonna make a great teacher for this little guy. Zaven has always been baby obsessed. From when I brought Quinn home from the hospital, he was just totally in love with him, and this baby is no different. He always wants to hold the baby. He just is enamored with him, and it's wonderful. Quinn, on the other hand, he's doing okay. He doesn't really want to hold the baby a whole lot and doesn't have a whole lot of interest in him. But on the same note, he doesn't have any negative behaviors towards the baby either. He just kind of is like, okay, you're there and that's great. Where's my snack? And as always, thanks for watching. And without further ado, I will show you what my belly looks like postpartum. I'll show you with the shirt up. Mesh underwear. Ladies, you know you love them. Just trying to keep it real. And so you can kind of see, still a little bit round for me, but these things take time.